Hello and a very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Discussion Today with your host, Kriti Mishra. The centre on Thursday again reached out to the farmers protesting against the 3 agricultural laws, asking them to set the date and time for the next round of talks to resolve the standoff. The government told the farmers that it was committed to reaching a logical solution to their concerns. The centre again sought to assure farmers that the agricultural laws would have no impact on the minimum support price. The government will also release the 3rd installment of financial benefit under the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi on December 25th. The Prime Minister will enable the transfer of more than 18,000 crore rupees to over 9 crore beneficiary families of farmers. And for discussing the way forward, I'm joined by Mr. Ashok Dalwai, CEO, NRAA, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and Mr. Abhinav Prakash, Assistant Professor, University of Delhi. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, both of you. Mr. Dalwai, coming to you first. Centre has again tried to reach out to the protesting farmers. Earlier, we remember that Union Agriculture Minister had written an 8-page letter to the farmers. Repeatedly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has allayed the concerns of the farmers. How do we resolve this stalemate or standoff?
The government has once again demonstrated its openness to deliberate and find a solution to the issue that has been raised by the farmers. Government has also sought the farmers' convenience to give a date and time so that both can sit across the table and discuss about the issues that they have. We should appreciate that the laws that have been framed, the laws that have been passed by the parliament represent the will of the people. After all, in a constitutionally governed democratic state of the country, it is the parliament, it is the state legislatures that are supreme. Hence, we should respect the will of the people that these laws have been passed. And like any other piece of law, which is a continuously creative tool, there can be changes. For that matter, even our very constitution has undergone a change several times. So nothing stops from making necessary changes to the piece of law based on experiences, based on responses. Now that even before the law has actually been implemented, the farmers have raised certain issues. Government has time and again said, well, we are willing to consider. In fact, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture has gone to the extent of putting very sharply the issues that have been articulated by the farmers and said that we are willing to consider this thing. So I think it is important that in a democracy, we always work together. There can be difference of opinion, but there cannot be a wall between us. We all belong to one country. We all want to give priority to the farmers. We are committed to the economic growth of the nation, and we consider that agriculture is the fulcrum of economic development, economic growth in our country. And more so, let me emphasize, in the 21st century, which is now cluttered by climate change and its implications, where we need to stop using the fossil resources, where we are committed to climate change rules and the commitments, we would like to depend upon agriculture, where agriculture is producing the renewable sources that can feed our industry, and we can embark upon what's called a bioeconomy. So I would suggest and request the farmers that please do respond to the government, and government is willing to consider all your issues. At this point, let me stop here, but I would say very clearly that MSP or MSP-based procurement is not a sustainable way, whether in India or in any other country. MSP is all right, minimum support price, because it has got the primary purpose of serving as a price signal to the farmers and enables the farmer to take a decision on what to grow and what not to grow based on the expected profits. But simultaneously, MSP in our country also serves the purpose of ensuring the farmers that if the markets fail to discover prices, I am here to come and support you. And this government has been executing that particular commitment in a very robust manner, whether it is paddy and wheat, or it is pulses, oilseeds, and millets, and apart from sugarcane and cotton. The intensity of procurement has increased over the last 6 years, and the percentage of procurement vis-a-vis the total production has increased substantively. Just to quote an example, pulses, we have now been procuring nearly 18 to 20% of the total procurement, total production in the country.
Right.
So I think it is important that we all come together and sort out this problem. There is no problem that has no solution. Every problem has a solution. The only prerequisite is both the parties have an open mind. And I can assure you
Absolutely,
that
sir. Both the
has an open mind.
parties need to have an open mind. And as you said, that in democracy, we may have differences, but all of us will have to work together. Coming to you, Mr. Prakash, this reminds me what Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said while he was interacting with the farmers on National Farmers' Day. He very clearly said that dialogue is the way forward to resolve all the issues. He also said that the government has expressed willingness to hold dialogue with the farmers. Then what and where is the stumbling block?
Well, thank you. See, when we're talking about this farmers' protest, we need to understand that farmers in the majority part of the country are not protesting. Most of the farmer unions in the country have supported these laws. They have their apprehensions. They had met and talked with the government. The government is holding talks with everyone, with all the farmer unions, not just the one who are blocking roads in Delhi. And most of these farmer unions have supported these farm laws, and the government has also addressed their concerns, their apprehensions. Now, coming to the people who are protesting against it, these are just few unions from the Punjab and some from Haryana who are protesting and making a maximalist demand that laws should be repealed. Now, the point is that these unions, in my opinion, are not interested in negotiation, because when they went for the first round of the negotiation, they could not point out, when the discussion started clause by clause on the laws, they could not point out what exactly is the problem and which clause do they object to. So they were told to come second time. When the second time they went for the negotiation, we know from the reports that they simply went with the banner, yes or no, repeal the law or don't repeal the law. And when ministers were speaking, they turned their back to the ministers. So the point is that these unions who are protesting or who are spearheading the protest are the ones who are not interested in the resolution of this crisis, because they are not the one who are representing farmers, even in Punjab and Haryana. Who are the people spearheading these unions? They are the larger farmers. You know what you call the, after Green Revolution in Punjab, we had the emergence of these new kind of farmers, capitalist farmers, who became rich, became quite dominant in the village economy. They became the money lenders, they become the aratyas, they control the trade and commerce. So they think that by these laws, their economic power, their monopoly power, even their social power and political power might come under threat. So they're trying to stall the laws and the change itself. They're not interested in negotiating the laws, because if you are interested, you will go with the problems, specific problems in specific laws. Now, the point is that this is actually a political negotiation which has to happen, because the debate no longer is about the technical aspects of the law. So that is something where the government will have to use its political capital, political will to bring these parties who are protesting on the table of negotiation so that we can discuss what is happening. The problem here is that their demands are also quite unrealistic, as Mr. Dalwai was also talking about it. Asking for MSP to be made a legal right is an unrealistic demand, because that just can't be done. It's an administrative process to incentivize certain crops as per the need. You can't make it as a legislative right, because that will amount to fixing the price for the one set of private producers. Remember, agriculture is a private sector. Farmers are private producers. They are not the government employees. So you can't ask the government to fix the prices of their products and of no one else. And if you start doing that, we will very much become a North Korean economy. So that is a very wrong, unrealistic demand they have.
All right. So you're making a very important point there on MSP. Let me take that to Mr. Dalwai. Mr. Dalwai, the government has given assurance to the farmers on MSP time and again. It has also said that APMCs will be strengthened. So how do we sensitize the farmers of the benefits of the new laws?
Thank you very much. The first point is that there's absolutely no organic link between APMCs and MSP-based procurement. APMCs, like any other trade channel, are marketplaces where price discovery happens through a competitive bid. We have a system for that. So there's absolutely no need for anybody to apprehend that MSP will meet a automatic closure because the trade will happen outside the APMCs. In fact, the farmers must be happy that we will now have more procurement places. Now, what happens in the new system with an alternate trade platform where it is possible for the procuring agency, including the private trader, to go up to the farm gate, the farmer can sell at his farm gate, and there will be more decentralized procurement centers. It is not necessary that we have only APMCs as the procurement centers. To substantiate my argument, well, while FCI normally uses the APMCs as platforms for procurement, NAFED, which is mandated to procure pulses and oil seeds, it also does outside APMCs. In fact, we also have many farmer producers organizations who procure pulses and oil seeds. So where is the rationale to say that with APMCs being weakened, the procurement will close? But more importantly, we are not weakening the APMCs. We now intend to strengthen the APMCs. The farmers must understand that in the year 2017, we brought out what is called a Model APLMC Act, which is a far more progressive model act compared to 2003. This is Model Agriculture Produce and Livestock Marketing Act. Today, the growth engine lies not just in the agronomic crops, it lies in horticulture. It lies in dairy sector, the meat and fishery sectors. Therefore, we wanted to organize market structure even for the animal husbandry. And this Model APLMC Act was drafted by a committee. Incidentally, I had the privilege of sharing that, where we had this secretaries of the departments of different states as members, apart from experts. We also shared this particular model draft act with all the state governments. We also put it on the website to see comments from the general public, and were taken many months to write that. And finally, our Honorable Minister of Agriculture, then Agriculture Minister, had a meeting with all the ministers in charge of marketing of all the states and union territories and released the document. Everybody agreed with that. So if all the states through a consensus have agreed that this is a good Model APLMC Act, and thereafter the government has been strengthening. For example, we have rolled out ENAM through these APMCs. Yes. We have funded them to build the basic infrastructure. We have promised them that even we can set up this what is called as sorting, grading, packaging units at every APMC. So being the case, why this apprehension that APMCs will be weakened? No less than Honorable Prime Minister himself has said that we would like to strengthen APMCs. And now that one particular apprehension that the farmers had, that because of the difference in the trade fee at the APMC and outside the APMC, outside APMC could be gaining an advantage. Now Honorable Agriculture Minister has said, well, we are willing to consider to levy the same level of market fee outside the APMCs at par. When we have at par opportunities, Adam Smith's basic principle of the invisible hand of market forces will come to operate. Yes. What happens then? There is a level playing field in every single trade channel. And then wherever the farmers find advantages, they can go there. And the same traders who are at the APMC are free to also go and operate outside the APMCs. Absolutely, by following the norms. So I don't understand. Where is the apprehension? Where is the rationality to actually doubt anybody's intention? Whether it is a trader, whether it is a commission agent, whether it is any other purchaser, as also the farmer of different categories are free now to go seamlessly across the nation. Go to APMC, go outside the APMC. Wherever you find that market structure is good, where marketing efficiency is better. Right, the short point is
as we're talking about the benefits of the new agricultural laws, I'll take that to Mr. Prakash. Mr. Prakash, as Mr. Dalwai was pointing out, where are the apprehensions? Why are these apprehensions? How would you like to add on the new opportunities that the farmers will get, the new rights, And of course, how will it shackle the barriers that the farmers had resisted all these years?
Well, there are two apprehensions which are being played upon. One is that somehow the land of the farmers will be taken away by the corporates, and that's a very strong propaganda at the grassroots level. But the reality is completely different, because the laws clearly provide all the protection to the farmers, that even if the farmer breaches the contract, in the case of contract farming, there is no penalty for the farmers, and certainly the land is not even the question. So you cannot make land as a factor in your contracts. So that is one of the major apprehensions the farmers have. Remember, land is the only asset they really have, so they're very apprehensive about it. The other one is, as Mr. Dalbhai was talking about, these APMCs and the MSP concern is there, which again the government is saying that there is no threat to the MSP at the moment. There is no intention to dilute the APMCs also. But this is coming because, see, when we're talking about these, what we're failing to understand out here, there's lots of interlinkages in the agrarian sector.
Yes.
So the big farmers are the ones who are also the traders and who are also the money lenders. So what is happening in Punjab and Haryana, the smaller farmers or the middle farmers have no option but to go and sell to these big farmers who are also the traders, because these big farmers who are also the traders are also the money lenders who are advancing money in the harvest season to the farmer with the condition that you have to come and sell to us. So this is a very complex web of agrarian relations, which the dominant section is now thinking that with more competition, as Mr. Dalbhai was talking about, the corporates might just come to your farm gate and collect your farm produce, pay you on the spot. So they are feeling threatened, and that is the root of this adamant position that we are not going to budge, you repeal the laws. But the farmers as a whole stand to benefit, because more opportunities, more play of the market is always beneficial. Commercialization always produces wealth for all. So commercialization of agriculture will produce wealth for the people. Remember, even in the villages, the majority of the population no longer depends on the agriculture for their livelihood. The non-farm activities now contribute more to the livelihood of the people than the farming activities. Anyways, the farmers are only 8 to 9% of the country. Out of them, 80%, 85% are the small and marginal farmers. Yes. And they are not the ones who are benefiting from the current system of APMC and even MSP, but they may very well benefit with their dealing with the corporates, with their dealing with the, having more economic opportunities, because they can form themselves into farmers producer organization. They can negotiate, enter in the contract with the corporates, and have better price realization.
Absolutely. So it will lead to better price realization. Mr. Dalbhai, I'd like to touch upon another important aspect. Now, India processes only 10% of its food production and loses around 900 billion rupees in wastage. The opportunities in cold storage warehousing after these laws are fully implemented.
Certainly. We must really look at the food loss and food wastage. Globally, this is a problem, and it is more so in Asian and African countries. Our own assessment shows that in 2015, India lost nearly rupees 93,000 crore worth of agriculture commodities only because we are not able to reach out to the markets. If we are producing because we want to use it somewhere. If we are producing to waste it, it is a charge on the ecology. It is a cost on the economy. It's a wastage for the farmers. Therefore, we must focus on two things: agri-logistics and processing. Agri-logistics helps in conquering the space. When we talk about surpluses many a time, it is surpluses at the local area. That means the local production has not been able to reach out to the demand centers, which could be in a far range market. Agri-logistics, including storage, whether it is dry storage or cold storage, and transportation, whether dry or cold, like the reefer van, helps in connecting the production center with the consumption zone. Therefore, what is surplus in one place will be consumed elsewhere. The farmers will find a better price. Likewise, if we want to conquer time, it is not possible for us to consume everything that we grow in one season. We therefore need to process it, either food process or non-food process, depending upon the commodity. And then the shelf life increases. We'll be then able to conquer what is called time. Primarily, discovery of prices, remunerative prices for the farmers depends upon conquest of space and time. So agri-logistics and processing help us do that. We can also enter into the global market. Now, with the new reforms that we have brought in, it is now probable that the private sector will start investing. The capital formation that we have seen so far, that only public sector investment has been happening, whereas private sector investment has been lying behind. Within the private sector, 98% of the investment happens by the farmers themselves. That means the corporate sector has been investing just 2%. What we now wish to do is that the corporate sector investment is increased. And normally when they do that, they will invest in agri-logistics, while public sector investment happens on roads, it happens in electricity, it happens in water. Whereas the private sector or the corporate sector more appropriately will start investing, building godowns, processing plants, pack houses, reefer vans, and so on. So this is a win-win situation for everybody. So the reforms must be looked at from the ecosystem perspective. When we have only a non-perishable like a cereal, for example, and then further backed up with MSP-based procurement, then diversification is a compromise. Today, India needs nutrition security. More nutrition will come from fruits, vegetables, eggs, milk, and fisheries and meat. All these perishables need cold storage. They need cold transportation system. And the farmers will benefit because they're high value agriculture. So this is what I think we as consumers, we as farmer producers, we as opinion makers must understand that India has to diversify. India is the best country in the world for diversification.
Right.
Because we have got more than 60 types of soils. We have got 121 types of agroecological zones.
Right, Mr.
There is no
Dalwai.
other country on this earth which can grow such diversified cafeteria of agri-produce like India can do it.
Absolutely, sir.
I
So
would suggest
diversification would be the
that-
key to our nutrition security.
Exactly.
But before we
So I
end
would
this
pick up
conversation,
this-
Mr.
Exactly.
Prakash,
Thank you
Prime
so
Minister
much.
Modi would be interacting with the farmers of around 6 states. The farmers would also be sharing their experiences about PM Kisan, about other initiatives that the government has taken. That certainly will send out a very strong message to the farming community.
Well, definitely. So, as I told, the government has been negotiating with the farmers, with different unions, and has been addressing their apprehensions. And certainly, the more assurances needs to be given to allay the fears of the farmers on the land issue and all the APMC and MSP issue. But also, as Mr. Dalwai was talking about the diversification, so I think, the MSP is also distorting the incentives in the market so that we are becoming a kind of a monoculture agriculture, so wheat and paddy, wheat and paddy. So perhaps we need to move away from price support towards the income support, let's say from MSP-based model in the long run to direct income transfer model, which the Prime Minister Modi is going to do tomorrow with the PM Kisan Yojana.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Dalwai, closing comments from you.
Yeah, certainly when the Honorable Prime Minister himself interacts with the farmers, there'll be a greater sense of credibility. When it comes from the horse's mouth, I'm sure the farmers will listen. And when he's going to talk, he's not going to talk in the air. He's talking based on facts, based on evidence, based on the schemes, initiatives, and programs. Government is extremely clear that agriculture is a risky business. While we subject that to certain market forces, simultaneously we're also aware that it can never be a perfect condition, and therefore the farmers need to be supported with various kinds of concessions and supplementary incomes. It is because of this that for the first time the PM Kisan, which is a transfer of certain amount of money into the accounts of the farmers as a supplementary income, has been rolled out by the government, and that's what is going to happen tomorrow. In
And of
addition
course,
to this,
the way forward
has,
is to hold dialogue with the farmers.
Yes,
Dialogue is the best way to resolve all the issues. On that note, thank you so much for joining us.
I feel that when the Honorable Prime Minister interacts, it will open up the windows. It will open up the windows of mind of the people, of the farmers in particular, and then it will become easier for people down the line, including officers like me, to talk to them.
And that will also
much
assuage
better.
all the concerns, all the worries
way,
of the farmers, all the apprehensions. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. So that's all we have for you in this edition of Discussion Today. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.